Here's a video I do every couple of years because a lot of people don't bother to look back at the old stuff, they just want to see the new stuff. Not only that, but I like to address questions that come through, and there have been quite a few questions that I want to try to address in this video. We're going to talk about mixer/controller settings, how to achieve unity gain. We're also going to get into powered speakers, be it top cabs or subwoofers, and I may also touch on your music files. So, we want to achieve what we call unity gain with our controller/mixer. What this means is you're going to send the hottest signal possible out of your mixer controller without distortion. This is great for recording, and it's great for live performance as well. And to do this, we have to set it up first. Everything's kind of flat right now, and we're going to deal with several different things on the board. The first thing we're going to deal with is the master, right here, master level. Think of this as your output signal master, all right? Believe it or not, I'm going to set this knob at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to leave it there, and I'm not going to touch it forever and ever. It stays there, it never moves. I know that sounds weird to some people, but that's how we're going to do it. We're also going to deal with trim or gain, which is at the top of your line fader. Usually, sometimes it's to the side, depending on the controller you're using. This is your input signal level. So your file that you're playing or your record that you're playing is recorded at a certain level. And what we want to do is adjust our trim gain to make that input signal make sense. Then we're going to deal with faders, which is kind of your volume, really. How you should be thinking about volume is with faders. And we'll touch on the crossfader a little bit as well. I'm going to move the crossfader all the way over to A. We're going to deal with this channel first. And I'm going to play a house music track. You're not going to hear it because I have my monitors turned off. So, I said that this is for the input signal. We're going to bring our gain trim up. See, we've got some input signal here on our PFL, pre-fade listen. It's pretty low. We're going to bring it up. If we bring it up high, you see we're going to hit red. If we bring it all the way up, it's going to be pretty steady red here. That's not good. You don't want that. So what you want to do is back this down until the highest level you're hitting on your pre-fade listen is 0 dB. On this mixer, it's the last green. Some controllers and mixers, it's actually the first amber, some of the newer Pioneer stuff, but this thing belongs in the Smithsonian. This is a Pioneer DJM 850. It's old, but it still works great. So that's 0 dB right there, okay? Let's put another track on, just for fun before we play around with this anymore. Here's a different house music track, and it's recorded a little different. We're going to have to bring this up, this pre-fade listen. See, we go way up here at noon. We're spiking up high into the amber. You go any higher, well, obviously you hit the red. So that needs to be backed off too. Let's get the same thing going on here with that. 0 dB. All right, there it is. It's pretty similar to where this one is, but it's a little different. Now, I'm going to take this line fader for this one right here. I'm going to bring it up. I want you to watch your master. See what happens. A little bit of a signal there, see? Bring it up some more. All right. That's 8 right there. Value 1 through 10, that's 8. Look what happens when I bring it all the way up. We go into the amber, like plus 6 or 7 dB. We're realizing some distortion at that point. We want 0 dB coming out of our master. So 8 is the highest you go on the line fader to achieve that. That's 8 right there. And see what happens? We're unity, 0 dB, all the way across the board. So with all of this set, this is your volume. If you want to turn it down, turn it down. See what happens here? Your master goes down. Bring it up a little bit, so you got a little bit of signal there. You can hear it if I had the speakers on. But yeah, this becomes your volume. This always gets set the same way, regardless as to what volume you want to run everything at. Turn it up a little more. 8 is the highest you go on volume. You don't want to go higher than 8. You go higher than 8, that happens like we talked about before. So this is now your volume, regardless as to how loud you want to play. You set everything like this, like I showed you, and you use the line fader as your volume control. Here's where it gets weird. Let's say we wanted to go ahead and mix in to the track right here. We can bring our line fader up to 8. We can move our crossfader over. Watch the master. It jumps up. See that? I think that's relatively negligible in a mix, but if you don't want that to happen to you, here's what you do. Bring your volume down a little bit on the track you're mixing in, and then bring your crossfader over. And as you bring your crossfader over, bring your volume up, and you keep unity gain. You can do it that way. You can do it where you bring this volume down as you put this track on too. But again, if you just have 0 dB happening here, you bring this over, you jump up. It's just how it works. Now here's something I do that's a personal preference. I've talked about this in videos before. You can take it or leave it. I like to do a little bit of a mid-cut on my EQ. It seems to me that through a PA system, the mids are really harsh. They may not sound so harsh on your home stereo or your car stereo or even your earbuds, but on a PA, they're harsh. So what I like to do is a mid cut, usually right here at about 9 o'clock on the mid, on the EQ. And what that's going to allow me to do is push up my trim a little bit so I get more bass and highs, but I'm not dealing with this frequency anymore. So I'm a little louder without distortion. Whoops, see, we jumped into 3 dB there. Bring it down a little bit. Do the same thing here on this one. Bring it down to about 9 o'clock. Again, personal preference. Then you can bump up the fader or the trim a little bit, or the gain. Get more bass and treble without that annoying mid. Now, I'm all over these things. Somebody in the comment section of my last one said, how do I save the trim gain settings on each track? I don't do that. It's second nature for me to reach up and grab these and hit 0 dB on my pre-fade listen. It's just second nature. And you see, it varies. Different places in the track, you may need to bring it down or up once in a while, depending on what's going on. You know, knob twisters, those guys who just twist knobs, or gals who just twist knobs while they're doing their sets. Here's a real knob twist you can do that means something. Play with your trim/gain and make sure you're hitting this 0 dB level as consistently as possible. Some really good questions came through on the last video. I thought this might be a good video to address them. One of the questions had to do with the line fader position. What they were saying is when they DJ, what they like to do is slam their line faders all the way up and all the way down. It's just easier for them. Hitting 8 would be difficult. If they wanted to achieve 0 dB out of their master, couldn't they just bring their trim or gain down a little bit? So let's slam this up. See, we're there in the amber. If we bring the trim or gain down a little bit, like so, we're still hitting 0 dB, all right? And so no matter what you do, you hit 0 dB. You don't have to worry about this 8 position on the line fader. Here's the problem with that. You're not getting the cleanest input signal through your trim or gain. You're robbing yourself of input signal. So unfortunately, you need to get all of this to 0 to get the cleanest input signal possible. You don't want to rob it, all right? And to do that, 8 is your position on the line fader. And that goes for anything. Let's say you want to bring your master down. You want to crank these up. Let's say you want to crank them up here, and then adjust your master accordingly to hit 0 dB. Yeah, you can do that, but the problem is you're robbing your master output of a clean signal. Does that make sense to you? It may or may not, I don't know, but yeah, when you make any other adjustment, something's getting robbed as far as clarity goes. And if you want good clarity, you want to give everything as much as possible. And to do that, you got to adjust things like I suggested if you're looking to do the whole 0 dB thing, which is great for recording or live mixes or whatever if you want a real clean sound. Which brings me to the question I got on recording. Somebody was saying they followed exactly what I said to do for recording purposes, but it was so loud in the studio they couldn't hear themselves think. What do you do at that point? Well, that's when you turn your actual speaker volume down. Let's say you're using monitors, turn them down, because this is clean output, all right? You're going to have to turn your amp down or turn your powered speakers down if you want to achieve this for recording and not make yourself deaf in the studio. The other question I had was in regard to external microphone mixers. I said, how about if I'm running my mixer controller into a small Yamaha microphone mixer and then out to my speakers, then how do I adjust things? This goes against everything Ben Stowe teaches us, but I'm going to tell you what I like to do and what I think is the way to go. Instead of running your mixer or controller into a little $200 Yamaha mixer, why would you do that? You paid for a nice, good controller like a Pioneer or whatever you happen to be using. It seems to me like it would make a whole lot more sense to run your small mixer into an auxiliary of your mixer or controller than the other way around. That way, you're getting the output signal that you paid for. If you run this into your little $200 mixer or controller, it's only going to sound as good as your $200 mixer or controller. This way, you get the good clean outputs of your nice mixer or controller that you paid up for. Again, Ben Stowe's going to tell you something different, but that's what I'm going to tell you from experience and from playing around with it a little bit. And anybody who's done what I suggested with that thanks me for it. They like it better. Coming up next, speaker settings. We're going to use this eVerse 8 from Electro Voice to demonstrate that. This is for more modern powered speakers, not the stuff from 15, 20 years ago, but the modern stuff. I'm going to show you how I set things up where you don't get any distortion, you get good, clean, crisp sound, no problem. Before we get into that though, anything that I'm showing you in this video is just how I do things and how I think they work well. If you would like to do them different, or you do them different, or you don't agree with me, that's okay. We're still friends. I'm just trying to help. That's it. No other reason. This isn't gospel. This is just me attempting to help somebody out there who may be having some issues with this stuff. And try it. I think it works really well. Let me know what you think. And this video is brought to you by Hollywood DJ, located on 11th Street in Los Angeles, California. Check out their website in the description of this video, or alternately, give them a call. My pal Alan down there will hook you up and you'll save some money just by calling him. That's the trick when it comes to retailers. But I want to thank Hollywood DJ for being one of our channel sponsors and taking care of us. We've got some stuff coming in from Hollywood DJ coming up real soon to have a look at. And yeah, stay tuned for those videos. All right, on to speaker settings. You may have something that looks kind of similar to this on whatever speaker you happen to be using, where you have this menu and it's showing you your decibel level. The newer speakers are like that. They work in decibels. So 0 dB would be like 5 o'clock noon on a dial. You go plus or minus. So here we go plus. See, we're going up, we're going down. 0 dB is where you want to set your powered speakers. Now, any other settings on the speaker are totally up to you. If I press this twice and I go down to like bass and treble settings, see, there's treble, there's mid, and there's bass. On my speakers, I like to do a -3 dB cut on the mids. This is personal preference. You do not have to do this, but I do it like that, just like I do it on the mixing board, and I think it works really well. Part of the reason for this is, again, it's a PA system. It's a little more aggressive than your home audio system or your car system. And mid deals with vocals. So let's say that you're at an event and people are trying to talk. If they're trying to compete with the mid signal coming out of your speakers, they're going to have to scream at each other. If you bring it down a little bit, it's my opinion that things sound a little better through a PA. Now let's talk about sub. Let's pretend this is a subwoofer for a minute. It's a little different with a sub. This is how I like to do it. So what I'll do is I will start my sub volume at nothing, just way, way, way down, okay? And I will bring it up, putting a 0 dB signal through my mixer or controller, and I will bring the volume up until I get distortion. I usually end up with distortion at like minus, I don't know, 654, something like that. Once I hit distortion, I back it off a few dB, and I've set my sub. So I don't crank my sub to 0 dB. I usually bring it down anywhere from 4 to 6 decibels. And that way my sub doesn't bottom out or distort. I want to answer a question on powered speakers that I thought was pretty good, but before I get into that, just understand that I'm not an audiophile. I'm not an audio engineer. Ben Still's a lot smarter than I am, but these are the things that I've done that have worked really well for me, and I've gotten a lot of unsolicited compliments on the sound that I produce at events from guests and clients. It works for me. Maybe it works for you. You can take it or leave it. We're still friends. So now that that's out of the way, on your powered speakers, sometimes if you're running 0 dB on your mixer like I showed you, and your speakers are set at a volume of 0 dB, you may look down and see your clip light or your limiter light flashing on, let's say, your two-way tops or your sub, like a flash. If that flashes, it's probably okay. Don't worry about it. It can flash all night long. However, if it's on steady, something's wrong. You're sending too hot of a signal to your speakers, or your speakers are turned up too high. Bring your volume down. Bring your master output down. Do whatever you have to do to make this harmonious so you don't have the solid limiter or clip light. Now, everything I've talked about in this video means nothing if you don't have clean music files. Here's how I do it. I'm using services like Promo Only and Top Hits USA. I'm using 320K MP3s, and to me, that's just fine. Some people take it further. They do wave or FLAC or lossless audio, and that's great. The better your music file is going through your system, the better everything's going to sound. If you're running a terrible audio file, your system's going to sound terrible. You have to have a clean audio chain. So everything, starting with your music files to your controller mixer to your speakers, needs to be as clean as possible and set well for everything to sound right. If one thing's off, it's not going to sound good anymore. So it's important to have good, crisp, clean audio files. And some people will tell me that 320K MP3 isn't good enough. That's their preference. That's their sound objectives. And they're probably pretty serious about audio. I am too, but I feel like for what I do, it's pretty good. Now, remember, I'm doing, I don't know, usually wedding receptions, 100, 150 people. I do school dances up to maybe 800 kids or more. And for that, I feel like my 320 4K MP3s are just fine. However, if I was playing at a stadium or I was playing at a giant arena, it probably wouldn't be enough. I'd want to look at lossless or FLAC or WAVE or something like that because it's a bigger system. It seems like the bigger the system is, the more important the audio file needs to be as far as quality goes. It needs to be really, really good with a big system. That's why you may have some really weak files that you play, I don't know, in your car, maybe at home, through your earbuds, and they sound just fine to you. The bigger the system, the more important that clean music file needs to be. So anyway, that's my video, and I hope it helped somebody. If it did, let me know in the comment section. Again, like, subscribe, all that stuff. The YouTube algorithm hates me, so I need all the help I can get. I appreciate any shares that you make as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. As always, practice and enjoy.